Hello everyone and welcome to the Eduko Lounge podcast. I'm your host Dinam Cruz and today we have with us Mr. Sadun Hapagoda. He's a MasterCard country manager for Maldives and Sri Lanka. So Mr. Sadun Hapagoda, could you please give us a small preview of your role at MasterCard and your academic journey?
First of all, thank you, Dinam, for having me. Talking about myself, I studied at 𝐷𝑆 College in Sri Lanka, which is one of the government schools in Sri Lanka. And then even though I was eligible to go to a government university, I opted to do higher education while working. So immediately after the school, I joined a bank in Sri Lanka, and then I started studying at SLIT, Sri Lanka Institute of Information Technology, and then I did my masters at Staffordshire University, and then I've kind of changed my jobs with 4 banks until I joined MasterCard and subsequently became the country manager for MasterCard. Talking about MasterCard, MasterCard is a global technology company. Even though a lot of people think we are a card company, we are a technology company specializing in payments. So what we do globally is it's multifold. While we are a large processor of payments interconnecting different banks, we call it issuers and acquirers in our terminology, and while we interconnect them to process transactions faster globally, we also work with the governments, different institutions to help uplift the digital economies of each country as well. So multiple fold in terms of contribution. One side is a technology service provider. The other one is actually a contributor to uplift digital economies and digital inclusion in multiple countries.
Thank you, sir. And in terms of the economic landscape, so what has the COVID pandemic basically done to the industry? Has it made a significant impact on the financial industry as such?
Yeah, so before that, if we kind of give a little bit of an introduction about the digital payments in Sri Lanka, if you look at the landscape currently for a 21 million or whatever the number of people that we have population, we have about 18 million debit cards in Sri Lanka, which is now reached almost 19 million. Now that's a significant number because if you look at the adult population in Sri Lanka, let's say about 14 million. For 14 million population, we have 18 million debit cards or 19 million debit cards now, which means everybody has 1.4 number of cards. And if you look at the credit cards business, that's debit cards I was talking about, 19 million. But if you look at the credit cards business, in Sri Lanka, we have close to 2 million credit cards now. And if you look at the acceptance landscape, where you use a card, in Sri Lanka, we have about 100,000 point of sale terminals. So amongst these 100,000 point of sale terminals, you can go and use your card to make a payment. Now, to come back to your question about what COVID did to the payment ecosystem, I think if COVID did one thing good is actually helping the whole digital payments, because of the challenges that people faced around COVID, they had no choice other than embracing digital payments. So we saw those who were going to supermarkets and buying, using cash or in traditional mechanisms, they shifted to do their very first digital transaction. When I say first digital transaction, it doesn't necessarily mean that they go to a website and purchase. It could be something very simple like sending a small list of items that they want to buy to a corner shop by using WhatsApp, and then doing a fund transfer. Right, that itself is a start of a digital journey to do a purchase. Right. And we saw a huge, I would say, jump during that time, especially on the online payments. However, there was a slight drop of those transactions, or rather growth, slight decline of the growth.
The decline is post-COVID?
Post-COVID. there is a slight decline that we saw in terms of the growth. But I think if you compare where we were to, somewhere around 2019 to the last published data of Q4 2022, we have almost doubled the cards usage in terms of 𝐿KR Sri Lanka rupee terms.
So moving on, exploring the role of MasterCard in promoting digital payments and all in Sri Lanka specifically, what are the recent partnerships as such that you all have initiated in Sri
Right,
Lanka?
right. So as MasterCard, we have taken again a dual approach, the approach in two folds. One, as an international entity which has reached more than 200 countries, how we can promote Sri Lanka as a destination by using our network, because tourism is one of the key things that we thrive on, Sri Lanka thrives on. So as a global entity with our reach, we can actually contribute to the country by leveraging the network that we have. So one thing that we did was we curated certain offers, very nice packages about Sri Lanka. We curated a campaign called Sri Lanka with Love, especially focusing on some of the Asian countries and India, and we've kind of gone to the markets and offered these packages to the travelers of those countries, inviting them to come to Sri Lanka. So that's one thing that we've actually started during the last stage of the economic crisis that we had last year, and now we are still continuing with that same offer, set of offers and promotions to promote Sri Lanka as a destination. So that's one part of our work. The other side of our work is to help uplift the digital economy and the infrastructure itself. So we have taken certain initiatives to empower SME, MSME segment, the micro segments, those who are not typically reached out by the traditional players like banks, to enable them with digital payment solutions. So early this year we've launched something called SoftPOS in Sri Lanka with a partner. So SoftPOS is where, if you, just to give you an example, you see these point of sale machines when you go to a supermarket, right? But a typical point of sale machine is a very expensive unit. So a corner shop would not be able to afford that because they can't generate sufficient volumes for the acquirers to give them a machine. So we've launched something called SoftPOS early this year, where if you are a small business owner, you can use your own smartphone, Android phone. As long as you have contactless, or rather NFC on your phone, you can convert that device into a contactless acceptance device. So let's say you are a tuk-tuk driver, or you are a small shop owner, you can simply convert your own mobile phone into a POS terminal, so people can tap and make a payment to your whatever the purchases that they do or services that they take.
So talking about the importance of financial inclusions in the emerging markets like Sri Lanka, what can you tell us about that, about financial inclusions?
Yeah, so if you look at Sri Lanka as a market, Sri Lanka currently is around 5% digital if you compare with the GDP, and even if you compare with the personal consumption expenditure, which is PCE, we are still around 6%. So that also, if you compare that with the neighboring countries like India, my other market which is Maldives, they have gone like really past these thresholds, and we are still on a single digit. So that also, while the digital payments adoption is low, it also tells us the fact that there's a lot for us to do. So we have taken several initiatives to empower this SME, MSME segments to reach out to rural areas, to reach out to the bottom of the pyramid merchants, as I said earlier, to enable them to accept digital payments, and also in terms of issuing side. As I said earlier, since we already have debit cards in your pockets, we have 19 million debit cards, which means every adult holds a card. Yes. it's just a matter of converting them from cash to a digital payment by using whatever the cards that they already have. So as an example, we still see people going to ATM, withdrawing cash, take that cash safely, and going to a supermarket and purchasing whatever they want to buy by using cash. So what we say is we also work a lot on the education for the general public to say you don't have to really withdraw cash. You can go to any of your merchants, and as long as they have a acceptance device, you can simply tap your card or do the transaction electronically by using the payment device, your payment instrument. So this is the area that we really work on currently to educate the general consumers on the benefits of adopting digital payments, but also we are doing a lot of work in terms of pushing digital payments acceptance to this micro level SME, MSME merchants as well.
So, inquiring about the future of digital payments, where do you see digital payments, let's say in another 10-20 years time? Do you think debit cards will solely go down, or what is your point?
Yeah, so that's a good question, but the problem is it's little difficult for us to predict for 10-20 years when it comes to digital payments, because it's a really evolving technology. The technology that existed 10 years back is not what we are using today, and I'm pretty sure the technology that we have today would not be the technology that we'll be using 5 years from now. But if you look at the Sri Lankan context, since we are speaking about Sri Lanka market, I think the outlook is really promising, because I personally believe every country has this evolution cycle of digital payments. India has gone to the peak now with enablement of different technologies in their home country itself. But if you look at Sri Lanka, we are right in the verge of changing the growth trajectory. I think from here on we will have an exponential growth, and we are really bullish about it. So I think especially the debit card market will really grow in Sri Lanka, but also this opens up room for us to grow the mobile based payments as well, because if you look at Sri Lanka, we have 165% mobile penetration, out of which 60% are smartphones. We have 9 million social media users, out of which 99% of them are using their mobile phone to accept social media, which I call like smartphone app savvy community. So we can really leverage these technologies that we already have, smartphone and the good connections of internet, to push mobile phone based solutions as well. So we are also working a lot in terms of introducing a lot of new technology, like we currently have something called pay by account, which we are working with multiple wallet service providers in Sri Lanka and banks to tokenize whatever the funding source that they have, and you can simply use your mobile phone as your payment instrument. So if you ask me the question whether the plastics will remain, I think it will coexist. I don't think plastics will be obsolete in near future. It will coexist, but also we will have exponential growth in terms of mobile phone based services as well.
Could you give us a bit of a sneak peek of any upcoming projects that MasterCard is involved in to support the financial ecosystem?
Yeah. So as I said earlier, one of the very nice projects that we currently work is the enablement of soft POS. So soft POS is where you can convert your mobile phone into acceptance terminal, and I think that will open up a lot of room for small merchants to accept digital payments. But also on the consumer side, I think within next 2 years, most of the mobile app service providers, including banks, fintechs, even telcos in Sri Lanka, will have a really good solid set of products and services that they will offer through the mobile phone. So considering the mobile phone adoption and the technology that we already have, I think there'll be a huge take up on mobile phone based services, especially on the payment side. So if I think it will be fair for you to expect next 1.5 years, 2 years, within that period, a lot of people will start using their mobile phones to make payments at merchant points instead of pulling out cash.
So, if there is one sort of advice you could give for someone who is looking forward to a career in the banking industry, so any key points or takeaways that they can take?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have them on the digital payments industry, because we need people contributing to digital payments industry, especially
Digital payments industry in the sense digital financial services.
digital financial services, and overall digital itself. So the students, those who are in Sri Lanka studying digital or studying technology, I believe someday they will contribute to the growth of Sri Lanka's digital payments ecosystem in global scale and in domestic scale. But if I am to give one of the advices, I can break it into two parts. One is my advice to the small and medium business owners. If you have a business, I think you should really look at adopting digital, because of two reasons. One is, by using digital infrastructure, you can reach out with your products and services to the world. Now it's really easy to push your product or service through digital means to the world, and also there are enough technologies in Sri Lanka now to accept payments digitally as well. So even if you are a hairdresser, today we have technology where you can send a small payment link and get a payment. If you are a small B&B or a hostel, you can still sell your things online, sell your property online, and you can get the advance booking by simply sending a payment link, and there are enough service providers in Sri Lanka doing that. But if you are a consumer, I would say move out from cash, because that will not only bring you convenience, but also it will contribute to the country to bring in efficiency, and also uplift the digital economy itself. So I think, especially if you are a student, I think you can work on reverse mentoring. Start with your family to educate them to say that you don't have to use cash anymore. Please use your own payment card, which is already in your wallet, to make purchases that you do on daily basis. But if you are a small business owner, you can reach out to any of the banks in Sri Lanka and ask for whatever the solutions that they have.
So, in terms of your work-life balance, what sort of advice can you give us on that take? Because nowadays you get a lot of workaholics that continue, they just work and they don't give family time and all this stuff. So, what is your experience on that?
Yeah, so I think work is always good, but work is not everything. So if you are especially on the corporate sector, I've gone through this hard cycle, so I think I'm eligible to give this advice. So something that you'll have to understand is, work is not everything in your life. I mean, of course, we talk about work and career is important and all that, but if you really look at yourself, if you really reflect back, you'll realize that there are more important things in your life than your work itself. So I think it's very important that I don't know whether the work-life balance is the right term to use. I think life is more important. You should focus more on your life and your happiness. And if you're happy, and if you're put it in a different way, I think it's important that you do work in a place where your passion is. And when you do that, you probably will realize that you don't work for money anymore, and you're really doing something that you love to do, and your salary and everything else is a byproduct of that. So that, if you find that kind of a passion, I think you'll be really good in terms of managing your life as well.
So I also heard that you were the head prefect of
I was.
DSNI College.
I was.
And president of multiple clubs and societies.
I used to be, yes.
Yeah. So how do you think that molded you into being who you are today?
I think it's a very important point because because being a head prefect or having multiple societies while you do your studies will really help you to mold yourself, as you said, to position in a corporate world, appropriately position in a corporate world. Because in corporate world, I think it's very important that you have a little bit of a corporate personal brand building as well. Because more you do personal brand building, sometimes people have this misunderstanding that personal branding is a bit of a self own thing, which is not actually. If you do personal brand building, it will definitely help your corporate to grow business as well. So today, with whatever the personal brand building that I have done, I utilize those relationships to build my corporate business as well. So the presentation skills, how you represent an organization, and all that, I think I've built thanks to being the head prefect and having president for multiple societies, etc.
So, so wrapping things up, what is one piece of advice that you would give the younger generation, especially all those who are just starting their higher educations and their early careers?
Yeah, I don't know I'm the right person to give the advice because I think the now newer generation is a little different than how we used to be, because we at our age, some time back, we used to do one thing in life and we were little focused of getting, or rather determined to achieve that objective. But today's world, I have seen working with younger generation, I've worked day in, day out with younger generations, with multiple fintech, startups, etc. I think they don't really stick to one specific thing. They want to try out multiple things, and they wanted to get engaged on multiple things as well. So sometimes you work in a fintech, sometimes you work in another startups at the same time, but also you do your education, you do your home business. I think it's good that you spend some time as a young student or young individual to figure out where your passion is, and once you find your passion, I think it will be very easy to push your journey through particular that work stream or the line that you're selecting.
All right, so we'll be wrapping up today's podcast episode, and I would like to thank Mr. Sandun Hapugoda for taking his time to be with us and share his knowledge and his wisdom he has gained throughout the years. And that brings us to the end of today's podcast. Have a nice day.